Mr. Secretary, thank you so much for taking my question. Can you just talk a little bit about some of the things that you've seen on the ground, some of the concerns that you're hearing? And given that we're in a region that's already seeing thousands of encounters a day, how confident are you that the measures that you've put in place are going to work?
I think that there is no question that this is going to be extremely challenging. I do not want to understate the severity of the challenge that we expect to encounter. The border is as I said at the very outset, it is a difficult situation. It requires not only a community of action on this side of the border, but it requires a community of action south of our border, not only with our Mexican partners, but with other countries throughout the region. And indeed, we have an international approach to an international challenge. What I've seen on the ground in my visit to McAllen and to Brownsville is no different than what I've seen in my more than 15 prior trips to the border as the Secretary of Homeland Security. I have seen an extraordinary workforce in green uniform in the United States Border Patrol, in blue uniform in the Office of Field Operations of U.S. Customs and Border Protection, across the expanse of the Department of Homeland Security, and quite frankly, across the expanse of this entire administration. This administration addresses challenges as one team in an all-of-government approach.
Yes, this question is for Chief Ortiz. Thank you for taking my question. Back in March in McAllen, you told Republican lawmakers that the U.S. does not have an operational control of the southern border. Do you still stand by that statement? And if so, what do you need to gain control of the border?
Yeah, so the question that was posed during my hearing was the congressional legislative definition of operational control where nobody crosses the border. I've been doing this job for 32 years. We've never had operational control. Have we had various levels of control? Yeah, most certainly. Even while I was the acting chief or deputy chief here for 5.5 years, this side of Rio Grande Valley was very secure, but out on my west side, we had surges quite often in Rio Grande City, Starr County, and Hidalgo County. And that plays out across the entire stretch of the 2,000 miles border that we share with Mexico. And so I have some sectors that I have greater levels of confidence in just because the flow isn't what it is. But this morning, Chief Chavez's team apprehended 2,300 people in this sector. And so that requires an awful lot of capacity and certainly poses some significant challenges for us. So I stick by my comments that I made during the hearing, but we've never had that.
Talking about the pathways and the plans that are in place, obviously, for majority Venezuelan migrants that was expanded to Haitian, Cuban, and Nicaraguan migrants. Why isn't that policy being enforced right now? Many of the migrants I'm meeting along the streets of Brownsville are swimming in between the ports of entry. As you have mentioned, if that happens, they're supposed to be returned. They're not being returned, and they're single adults without family here. Why is that happening?
So I think you are actually mistaken, because the parole process for Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans that we first announced and implemented on January 5th is underway and continues to be underway. And we continue, if I may, it does. And if I may, we continue to parole individuals of those four nationalities when they qualify under the program that we established and announced. And that requires a sponsor here in the United States to ensure that those individuals have financial stability and they are able to arrive in a safe and orderly way. That is indeed underway. And we continue to expel Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans. The number of Venezuelans that we've been able to expel has actually diminished over the past 2 weeks. The cause of that is a very complicated one. We've sat down with the Mexican government, and those expulsions, and of course, in a post-Title 42 environment, those removals will continue. And that is why the message is so important, that people, vulnerable people, are receiving false information. They are being lied to that if they come and arrive at our border, that they can stay in the United States. That is not what the law provides. That is not the consequence that we will deliver.